Is that you? Look how handsome you are!
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most dismal films of the 21st century.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Number 30, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Remember when we were younger, Pooh, please. Why are you doing this?
A horror reimagining of beloved childhood characters is bound to be controversial, but it turns out even more horrifying than the gory kills in this movie was the screenplay. In January 2022, the first Winnie the Pooh book went into the public domain, allowing writer-director Rhys Frake Waterfield to plan his own nightmare version of A.A. Milne's classic story. A slasher that sees Pooh and friends kidnap Christopher Robin and go on a murderous rampage against a group of university students, the movie was panned for its weak dialogue, story, and acting. However, it did make over $5 million on a budget of just $100,000, and so there's a sequel in the works.
Why won't he leave me alone? He just keeps following me everywhere I go.
Number 29, After Earth.
I want to work with Mom.
Me too.
This 2013 post-apocalyptic action movie starring Will Smith and his son Jaden was directed by M. Night Shyamalan, a director famous for his surprise twist endings. Unfortunately, this entry doesn't have a surprise twist where we tell you how it was actually a good film. With flat performances and a cliched, preachy, predictable story, After Earth was disliked by both critics and audiences. Will Smith had pitched the movie to the studio as just the beginning of a series of films, television shows, theme park rides, and much more. Needless to say, that all went away after the film was released.
That sucked.
That is correct.
Number 28, Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
Should we kill you before or after we cut you?
While the video game franchise is still going strong, we've still never gotten a quality live-action Street Fighter movie. At least the 1994 film with Jean-Claude Van Damme made money at the box office. However, not only did 2009's Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li lose the studio money, it was even worse than the 1994 film, something many probably never thought possible. Besides the terrible writing and cardboard acting, The Legend of Chun-Li was also criticized for less than stellar fight scenes. And if you can't at least get awesome fight scenes in a Street Fighter movie, then what's the point?
How do you know who I am?
We've been watching you for some time. I know who took your father.
He's alive?
Number 27, Holmes and Watson.
Watson, stop panicking! We can disable the Queen!
After Talladega Nights and Step Brothers, we were all ready for another Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly collaboration to be a laugh riot. The only mystery in Holmes and Watson is how so many funny people produced such a clueless, not to mention elementary comedy. The movie basically follows the same formula as every other Will Ferrell star vehicle. An egotistical buffoon needs to learn the value of humility and friendship.
The most obvious conclusion.
This time, however, the formula is devoid of anything resembling charm, humor, or effort. In 2018, did the filmmakers seriously think that people would laugh at jokes about fake mustaches, the Titanic, and women being doctors?
What does doctor mean in America?
It means doctor.
The fact that Sony couldn't even pawn this inevitable bomb off on Netflix says everything.
Number 26, The Haunting of Sharon Tate.
Well. Pregnant little starlet has got some fight in her.
The premise sounds just awful, but somehow it was made into a film. Writer-director Daniel Farron's horror movie stars Hilary Duff as Sharon Tate, who's having premonitions of her murder. A murder that, of course, really did happen in the summer of 1969. There are a few worthwhile movies about Charles Manson and the Manson family murders, and you're definitely better off watching them instead. The exploitative screenplay and miscasting of Hilary Duff were poorly received by critics and audiences alike. It is a cheap schlock horror take on tragic real events.
I guess you could say I live in a fairy tale world, looking at everything through rose-colored glasses. I probably always will.
Number 25, Glitter.
There's been no shortage of quality musical dramas in the 21st century, but this is not one of them. Mariah Carey has tried to blame the film's failure on the fact it was released on 9/11, even though it was actually released on the much less traumatic 9/21.
You got anything we can hear right now?
Sure, why not?
We're working on it.
But the fact that critics and fans alike loathed the film seems like a far more likely explanation. For one, Carrie's performance as Billy Frank was so harshly criticized, she ended up winning the Razzie in 2002 for Worst Actress.
Your whole thing, the superstar always comes first.
Look, don't blame me for your failure.
After just 27 days in theaters, it closed, having earned back only around a quarter of its $22 million budget. All that glitters clearly ain't box office gold. Number 24, Pinocchio.
Could she find it in her heart to forgive me? Then I asked myself, is it possible that her heart is big enough? I thought, no, but then yes, of course it is.
Italian actor, writer, and director Roberto Benigni became a household name with the release of his multi-award-winning film Life is Beautiful in 1997. But life wasn't so beautiful 5 years later when his film Pinocchio made its way to theaters. What made Life is Beautiful so amazing was Benigni's ability to bring true moments of beauty in the midst of unthinkable monstrosity. But in Pinocchio, that joie de vivre is missing. Instead, it feels like Benigni is just going through the motions. There's also the questionable edit that Miramax did to the film for the English dubbed version released in the US. While the Italian release received mixed reviews, the US version rocks 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
These are donkey ears!
Number 23, Saving Christmas.
Just maybe, someone like Santa Claus is actually on the team?
Best known for his role as Mike Seaver on Growing Pains, Kirk Cameron became a born-again Christian at 17 and has spent much of the last decades producing TV and movies that speak to his faith. One such work was the 2014 holiday film Saving Christmas, which begins with Cameron delivering a diatribe to the audience that Christmas is under attack. The movie/sermon that follows consists of Cameron's arguments to a character playing his brother-in-law, named Christian, for the Christian roots of Christmas. The only people who are angrier than Cameron are those that had to watch this poorly written and painfully acted slog. As one YouTube commenter put it, quote, "Finally, something that both atheists and Christians can dislike."
S-A-N-T-A, rearrange letters, Satan. Santa, Satan, same letters.
Number 22, The Hottie and the Naughty.
June's a handler at the zoo.
That's great.
Well, the only downside is that I'm constantly covered in hair. Not that I don't already have enough to begin with.
Shockingly, Paris Hilton's acting isn't even the worst thing about this movie. She plays the titular hottie, Christabel, the love interest of Joel David Moore's Nate. When Nate asks her out, she agrees, but only if he finds a date for her best friend, the Naughty. What follows are cruel jokes at the Naughty's expense, a dramatic makeover, and true love. While the film may see itself as celebrating inner beauty, it definitely does not. The script, the dialogue, and the depth of characters are as surface level as the beauty that really matters in this movie.
It's a little bit of a shock to the system. You have the whole new look.
Number 20, Fantastic Four.
The next entry on our list is a case of tripping right out of the gate. Director Josh Trank was a relative newcomer to the scene when he was hired to helm 2015's big-budget reboot of Marvel's Fantastic Four franchise.
Victor! Come on! We can't leave him! Wait, we gotta go now! Come on!
Trank had only one prior directorial credit in film to his name with 2012's Chronicle. Yet the writing was on the proverbial wall when Trank posted a negative tweet about his experience on the film prior to its release.
He's been active in covert operations with a 100% success rate.
This was in addition to the already poor reception Fant4stic was receiving from critics, who wrote off the film as a, quote, woefully misguided attempt to translate a classic comic series without the humor, joy, or colorful thrills that made it great. Ouch.
Gotta say, it's fantastic.
Number 19, Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star.
Oh! You hit me in the eye!
We guess you could say that Nick Swardson was the 2010's equivalent to Rob Schneider, i.e. the guy who frequently pops up in Adam Sandler movies. Whereas Schneider had a few star vehicles back in the day though, Swardson was given one shot to prove he could carry a movie.
That's my folks. On the big screen.
If Bucky Larson proves anything, it's that Swardson was not born to be a star. Centering on a buck-toothed mouth breather who learns his parents were adult film stars, Bucky Larson sets out in pursuit of fame. It's basically a poorer version of Orgasmo, which didn't exactly set the bar very high. Throw in Pauly Shore, and you've got a movie that clearly is not even trying.
Hey, ma'am, I got your paper.
You can leave the paper on the counter.
Number 18, The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
You married twins, huh?
No, they're not twins. I met the perfect woman and then I had a clone.
Which one's which?
Who cares?
This sci-fi comedy was in development for almost 2 decades. We're not sure why they bothered. After Eddie Murphy signed on, several writers took cracks at the story, but Murphy rejected them all, asking for a regular action movie script like they'd write for Sylvester Stallone, promising that he'd bring the comedy.
You're genius.
What did I do?
You're a genius. Now look what you did. That's how she saw it. She saw it upside down.
Well, unfortunately, The Adventures of Pluto Nash just isn't funny, and the action isn't very interesting either. Even director Ron Underwood has admitted that it isn't good, and said of Murphy, quote, "He wasn't feeling that funny, I don't think." Yeah, we noticed.
How did they find us? Obviously, you did something stupid.
Number 17, Norm of the North.
I didn't know what to do. No other bears seemed to be able to speak human.
If anyone thought that making a good animated movie is as easy as throwing together a bunch of cute talking animals, Norm of the North is here to prove you wrong. Talking animals alone do not a good movie make, because what they're saying is also very important. And what they say in this one are mostly a lot of tired jokes interspersed throughout a film that obviously takes, inspiration from the likes of Happy Feet, Madagascar, and Ice Age, but without any of the charm or heart.
What's he doing?
He wants you to stomp on him. He wants you to prove how tough he is.
Could he sign a release first?
Number 16, Cats.
The naming of cats is a difficult matter.
We all know that having an all-star cast does not always translate into a successful picture, but that was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to Cats. The Tom Hooper-directed fantasy musical was absolutely annihilated upon release. With critics tearing apart CGI glitches that were so obvious, Universal Pictures had to send out visual updates to theaters after the movie was already released. Meanwhile, audiences had to sit through a nightmarish and disjointed story that had silver screen icons like Ian McKellen and Judi Dench clawing away needlessly at their storied careers and reputations. Plus, with those post-release CGI fixes, the losses on Cats are expected to reach between $70 and $100 million, making it a total flop on all accounts.
That's what I say to you, okay?
Number 15, Dragon Ball Evolution.
I will defeat Ozaru, and I'm here to destroy you.
This movie lives in live-action adaptation infamy. Dragon Ball has been a beloved franchise since the release of the manga and anime in the mid-1980s. But this 2009 live-action adaptation wasn't for the fans, showing very little faith to the source material. Then there was the casting, which invited accusations of whitewashing. Add in a weak script and awful acting, and you've got Dragon Ball Evolution. Critics and fans are not always on the same page, but in this case, they were lockstep in their agreement.
It doesn't feel right. I must be missing something.
Needless to say, the rest of the movies in the planned Dragon Ball series were canceled.
We are just stuck down here. I'd be, so grateful if you could just help me and my friends out.
Number 14, Alone in the Dark.
What the hell's going on here?
Especially known for his video game adaptations, Uwe Boll has built a reputation for directing some of the worst movies of all time, with most of his productions becoming critical and box office disasters. He also doesn't care what you think. Although House of the Dead deserves a special mention, it's his other video game adaptation that's our choice. In Alone in the Dark, Christian Slater uses his special powers to chase after these demonic creatures that used to be worshipped by an extinct civilization. And it is epically bad.
If they disrupt electricity, how come my flashlight still worked?
Number 13, Gotti.
This life ends one of two ways, dead or in jail. I did both.
Congratulations, John Travolta. You've made your silliest movie since Battlefield Earth.
Are you not aware that I graduated top of my class?
The script for this crime biopic reads like it was written by an AI bot that gathered all of its data from Italian-American stereotypes and gangster cliches.
You got us into this mess, please.
Gotti hits all the familiar mob movie beats, but it's completely deprived of any humanity. When all's said and done, what do we really learn about John Gotti by watching this movie? Well, he was a mob boss, he had a family, he swore a lot. That's about it. There's no real insight into what made Gotti such a fascinating figure. The only thing more confused than the movie itself is the soundtrack, which includes the musical stylings of Pitbull and the theme from Shaft.
I mean, that ain't right. That ain't right.
Number 12, The Emoji Movie.
Today is my first day on the phone. Oh boy, I'm gonna be so meh.
What are you gonna do?
In 1914, Winsor McCay premiered his animated short Gertie the Dinosaur, launching a groundbreaking art form into the mainstream. 103 years later, this art form was used to turn Sir Patrick Stewart into a talking piece of poop.
That's because I believe in you.
Should we wash our hands?
McCay would be so proud. The Emoji Movie doesn't even feel like a real animated feature, but rather a satire of one. Come to think of it, if smarter writers were involved, maybe this could have been a clever satire about product placement and Hollywood's creative bankruptcy.
This feels very odd, and it smells.
Since this is a movie about a society that inhabits a device, however, it's nothing more than a commercial, really. As Rotten Tomatoes will tell you, the whole movie can be summed up with a general prohibition sign emoji.
Aim higher, Stephen.
Number 11, Freddy Got Fingered.
What in the name of sweet breakfast meats are you doing?
Even when he was making The Tom Green Show for local Canadian television, then the Comedy Network, and eventually MTV, we understood that the comedian is an acquired taste. And while many of us enjoyed the subversive comedy on his show, his 2001 film Freddy Got Fingered is a flavor many of us did not ever acquire. Sausages hanging from ceilings and newborns swung around by their umbilical cord just didn't scream funny to a lot of us. While the movie has gained a cult following in the intervening decades, it still holds a 10% critic score and a 56 audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
My dad was right all along, it is stupid.
Number 10, Gigli.
Thanks to Bennifer 1.0, this monstrosity received way more attention than it deserved. However, that didn't stop the movie from being among Hollywood's most expensive bombs ever.
In every relationship, there's a bull and a cow. It just so happens that in this relationship right here with me and you, I'm the bull. You're the cow.
In Gigli, Ben Affleck is a mobster who needs to kidnap a prosecutor's brother who has mental disabilities in order to help a crime boss played by Al Pacino avoid prison.
You all guessed right. This is clearly a romantic comedy.
What about me? It's not your type.
Your penis.
This movie is offensive to people with mental disabilities, to lesbians, and to any audience members with eyes or ears.
After winning 6 Razzies, it later won a 7th for Worst Comedy of the Razzies' first 25 years. Well deserved.
Number 9, Son of the Mask.
Don't you just love Halloween?
Following the mega success of The Mask, the studio found a sequel irresistible and wanted to bring back Jim Carrey. The problem was that Carrey didn't want to do it. And that's why, instead of The Mask 2, we got Son of the Mask instead. And the results were anything but smoking. The script feels like a premise desperately trying to find a story, and the CGI can't hide just how unfunny it all is. And no disrespect to Jamie Kennedy, but he's no Jim Carrey. To paraphrase the original Mask, somebody should have stopped him from agreeing to be in this movie. In fact, somebody should have stopped everyone from making it.
Who's a turkey?
Number 8, The Last Airbender.
Is it okay if you tell me your name?
The monks named me Ang.
The Last Airbender lived up to its title, but not in the way director M. Night Shyamalan intended. Shyamalan built up this film as if it was going to kick off Hollywood's next epic trilogy. Between its rushed plot, wooden acting, overproduced special effects, unnatural dialogue, and accusations of whitewashing, though, a sequel naturally never saw the light of day. The good news is that there's already an epic trilogy, the 3-season-long animated series that inspired this cinematic travesty. That being said, the fact that The Last Airbender was derived from such a brilliant show is what truly gets under people's skin. A terrible movie is one thing. A terrible movie based on promising source material is just shameful.
You're angry. You must let this go.
Number 7, Movie 43.
Hello, Mrs. Miller. I'm the pretty girl.
She is.
Helmed by Peter Farrelly, who'd ironically go on to direct a Best Picture winner only 5 years later, Movie 43 was supposed to be Kentucky Fried Movie meets Funny or Die. Instead, we got the Citizen Kane of awful, as Richard Roper put it. Comprised of several sketches, this anthology comedy enlisted a cornucopia of gifted actors and filmmakers. The selling point was a skit where Kate Winslet goes on a date with Hugh Jackman, who's given a unique neck abnormality.
Honey, Hey.
Lois.
Yes.
Lois Lane.
No, I know. It's me, Robin.
From there, more and more stars signed up for a comedy that ultimately produced few laughs, but plenty of groans and cringes.
We dare you to find a movie released that same decade that flushed more talent down the toilet.
Certain percentage of our younger demographic are sticking there. You know what? In the vent.
No, I don't know what.
Number 6, Birdemic, Shock and Terror.
So, what do you do?
I'm a fashion model.
And a beautiful one, too.
Thanks.
Because of climate change, birds have mutated into creatures who attack humans, spit acid, and explode upon hitting the ground. Lovers Rod and Natalie are caught in the middle of this deadly phenomenon and must escape with their lives and those they can save along the way. Trust us, we feel even dumber saying all that than you do listening to it. But that is 2010's Birdemic, Shock and Terror in a nutshell. The film was made for just $10,000, and ooh, does it show. The visual effects are laughable, and while money can be blamed for the effects, it isn't an excuse for such an awful script, painful dialogue, and some of the worst acting you'll ever see.
Sir, don't you know that these birds are attacking people?
These birds?
Yes.
No way, they're dead from the bird flu virus.
Number 5, Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
What are you guys blabbering about?
Oh, they're not babbling. They're talking.
At the heart of this movie are babies who can talk to each other using baby talk, and a super baby who drinks some kind of green drink to become a powerful fighter. There's also Jon Voight with a German accent as the bad guy, a whole lot of terrible puns, and boring action scenes. Just because it's all done with cute kids does not make it better. And if you're wondering why Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2 made our list, but the original Baby Geniuses didn't, it's only because the latter was released in 1999. Last century.
If we find the key to the human mind, every child will be educated in the Kinder method. Every great mind will be ours to mold.
Number 4, Food Fight.
Listen up, fat cat burglar. I'm giving you one last chance to hand them over before I cash in your coupons for you.
Some movies should stay in development hell. This computer-animated adventure comedy about food mascots was originally set to be released in 2003, but delayed until 2012 when the world finally got to see what they'd been working on all that time. And the world wasn't impressed.
When in doubt, just do the right thing and you can't go wrong.
Yeah, man, but I don't want to lose you too.
We're not sure what they were doing that whole time, but based on the poor script and awful animation, it can't have been writing or animating. It failed on every level. As an adventure, it wasn't fun, and as a comedy, it wasn't funny. Then there was the annoyingly obvious product placement. We'd rather have someone throw actual food at us than ever have to watch this thing again.
You want some?
Oh, yeah.
It warms my heart the way you love my raisins, tough guy.
Number 3, Jack and Jill.
How we doing? Where were you? I've been waiting forever for you.
We're glad that Adam Sandler closed out the decade with his acclaimed performance in Uncut Gems because he kicked off the decade with a Razzie-winning performance in Jack and Jill.
Actually, he gave 2 Razzie-winning performances, playing Adman Jack and his unbelievably obnoxious twin sister Jill.
Oh, Polly Wally Zoom Golly Golly. That means I want to choke on my own vomit.
The film even managed to win a Razzie in every category. An unprecedented, achievement. Even in a decade that brought us Pixels and Grown Ups 2, Jack and Jill is Sandler's crowning achievement of lazy anti-humor. Al Pacino says it best in the final scene where he orders Jack to
burn this.
In the story's context, he's talking about a commercial, but it just as easily could be applied to the movie we just endured.
Everyone wants my Dunkachino. Can't get enough of my Dunkachino.
Number 2, Battlefield Earth.
Many of our entries can be seen as career killers, but Battlefield Earth brought John Travolta to an all-time low.
Oh, thank you, sir. I don't know if I could have kept my sanity to be here another 5 cycles.
Although most actors are forced to take these steps down for a paycheck, Travolta spent years bringing this movie to the world, claiming its source material was better than Star Wars.
Please forgive my pretension as I try to educate you in Cyclo, the noble language of our superiors.
Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard wrote the book in an attempt to bring the religion to younger audiences, and that book serves as the basis of the sci-fi action flick. Needless to say, the world wasn't interested. When the most horrible acting you've ever seen is topped by camera work that will give you a cramp in the neck, it's not surprising you have a recipe for unintentional hilarity.
Stupid humans.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Room.
When your movie sparks a debate about film as outsider art and gets compared to getting stabbed in the head, you know you've done something special.
Do you want me to order a pizza?
Whatever, I don't care.
I already ordered a pizza.
You think about everything.
The Room was created by Tommy Wiseau, a mysterious eccentric who delivers one of the most head-scratching performances ever as the lead in this cringeworthy romantic drama.
I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
Wiseau plays a banker in San Francisco named Johnny, who's trying to cope with the infidelities of his fiancée, Lisa.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Why are you so hysterical?
Do you understand life? Do you?
From the melodramatic acting and awkward sex scenes to the nonsense plot, the movie tries to convince audiences that it's authentic and real, while somehow missing every single note.
Go deep!
Gee, Peter, you're clumsy.
There's a reason The Room has often been called the best worst movie ever made. What films do you think are the worst of the century so far? Let us know in the comments below.
This is why Superman works alone.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.